Hey y'all, and welcome back to a new video of a game that I played recently, just online this time, where I kind of, uh, I don't, I didn't play very well. Let's just say that I didn't play very well, and let's just get into it. My opponent starts off the game with c4, and I go e5. Very normal stuff. My opponent goes knight c3, and I go knight f6. So this is the English opening after c4, and what normally ends up happening is that white tries to play for some g3, and black can play in like numerous different ways with like e6, g6 maybe. This is how I normally play the position, and I try to go for something like this. Maybe I go c6 in some lines. There's a lot of lines here. Like there's some idea of bishop e6, queen d7, and bishop h3 to trade off white's light squared bishop. And there are many options here. We're not going to dive on all these. We're just going to dive on the one that appears in this game. My opponent goes knight f3, and I go d6. Very reasonable. D6 just makes sense to me. I'm defending my pawn. I don't really have much theory in the English. Maybe I should have gone knight c6. This is what the computer says. This is like a million times better than d6, and I'm doing a lot better, but I honestly don't really understand the difference. Well, the difference is apparent after the move d4. And this is what the problem is. Alright, we're just going to disregard that, pretend you saw nothing. I'm not going to edit that out. D4 is the difference. D4 is the problem, and that's why I should have gone knight c6. If I had gone knight c6, which is the best move here. Now d4 doesn't work because first of all I can play e4, which makes some sense. But like ed, knight d4, and now I don't have this awkward pawn on d6 blocking my dark squared bishop, and I can play like bishop b4 targeting this knight, trying to get double pawns here, which would obviously be pretty bad for my opponent. Right, that makes lots of sense. That's why knight c6 is better. Instead d6 I thought improved the pawn as well. Now d4, I go ed4, knight d4, and I play a pretty reasonable move that the engine on depth 21 says is like the top engine move, but the game review gives it inaccuracy. This move g6, very reasonable. Now bishop g7, castle, some normal stuff here. Of course, I know that I'm worse, but I didn't think I was this worse. This is really bad already. My opponent has all the center space. Like I don't have any control of the center besides this knight. And normally these positions I can like maneuver my way around and do pretty good. But in this game, it's not looking correct. After like bishop g7 and castles here, like I'm probably doing bad if he just like takes the control of the center with the e4. And then I'm like never getting out. Like if he plays e4 right now, it's kind of over. It's really bad if he plays e4, but luckily he doesn't, and he goes with normal ideas in English, which is g3. Very reasonable. Of course, he wants to develop his light squared bishop to the opportune diagonal, and after knight c6, he would be able to get knight takes here and bishop takes here, picking up the rook in the corner. Very natural. I go bishop g7. Don't see any point not to. My opponent goes to bishop g2. Castles. And I decide to just blunt the bishop with this move c6. Natural, right? Natural. After c6, right, the bishop is not able to come over here anymore, which is kind of the whole point. But now there's actually very interesting play. For example, now my knight can't get out to the nice square c6, and maybe instead of doing that, I should have gone for a move like queen here and tried to play knight c6 here. But as you can see, the engine hates this, simply because white gets a lot of development with moves like bishop f4, and if I go with this knight c6 plan, here, and what am I doing? Like rook here, bishop here, maybe. It doesn't look smart. It doesn't look correct. And I just didn't think of it. So c6, my opponent goes b3, and another point of c6 comes to fruition again. And as you can see, all the ideas tie into another c6. Makes a lot of sense. I want to take control of the center. That's one of his biggest like strengths in the position. By the way, here was like the last chance to play e4. If he played e4, I wouldn't be able to play this move d5, and then my position is just much worse for permanently. But c6 repairs d5. My opponent goes b3, and now I'm basically forced to play the move d5. And I thought I was too. I'm like, okay, d5. I'm finally taking control of the center. You know what? It's not the end of the world. I get it. Some like isolated queen's pawn. It's not that bad. And then I'm just gonna be able to like get my rooks out, maybe go knight a6, knight c7 here. Actually, I might just go knight c6 immediately, and I'm gonna be worse. I'm gonna be worse, but I'm not gonna be losing, and that's the most important part. I'm not gonna be losing. That's what we gotta remember. So after cd, my opponent goes bishop b2. Of course, that was the idea of b3 coming down on this file, and I go knight c6. Of course, I like everything ties into one another. This is very simple plans. My opponent takes, and I take, and we arise in this position. And now, I'm just worse. I'm just worse. What ends up occurring after rook c1, which is a very nice move, trying to move the knight and then attack this pawn. I have this really bad pawn structure. Currently, it's not like visually bad. Like, okay, I have two pawns here. Like, they're okay. They're connected. Like, it's not the end of the world. Like, to a beginner, like these pawns look fine because they're not isolated pawns. And I mean, isolated pawns are bad, and that's all you really know. But that's all a beginner would really know here. But like, actually, these pawns are awful. This is what's called a hanging pawn structure, where we got these two pawns versus these two pawns. And normally a hanging pawn structure is bad for the person with these two pawns. At least in my experience, it is. Maybe it's not in like other cases. I don't know. Don't quote me on that, please, because I could be very, very wrong, and that would be embarrassing. But yeah, this is called a hanging pawn structure, and these are just bad because white can blockade them with a move like, if he gets like the bishop here, these pawns are blockaded, and then I'm just going to be worse permanently. Also, this pawn is a liability in many other lines. So what I do here, I develop my bishop f5. I thought this was very normal. I could have gone with bishop d6, but I didn't like this as much. I just thought that maybe he's getting into this square and then my bishop is a target. So I was like, it doesn't seem right. So I didn't do that. I went bishop f5. My opponent goes knight a4, of course. He's trying to go knight c5 and have a very, very strong knight in the position permanently. Not good stuff. Doesn't look good. And like what I do here, I thought made sense. Like, it's the only move that makes any sense. I go rook c8, right? I'm defending the pawn because this rook was opened up, and my opponent's gonna get the knight to c5. Like, there's nothing I can do about that. There's nothing I can do about that. But first, what my opponent is gonna do is play bishop d4. And now what he does is these pawns are finally blockaded. Like I said, I told you he was going to blockade the pawns with bishop d4 at some point. And now my pawn is attacked. So he blockades the pawns with tempo, which is a very nice move, very nice idea. And I have to be very, very careful. So I think here for a little bit. I'm like, okay, you know what? Why am I even doing too much here? If I play a6, right, his knight's going to come in. Maybe his bishop's going to come in some lines. He might cause some damage. But under like later consideration, I thought, you know what? That doesn't look like the end of the world. That doesn't look fine. That looks fine. Like, I think I'm okay there, in all honesty. And I was wrong. What I should have done was just play this move like rook c7, defend the pawn. I'm worse. I'm cramped, right? It's pretty obvious that I'm bad here. But I'm alive, and that's the most important part. Like, I'm okay. I'm worse, but I'm okay. I'm not letting his pieces get it. Instead, I played a6 because I didn't see anything wrong with it, and this just immediately creates like really bad positional weaknesses for the rest of the game because this pawn is obviously incredibly weak, and then he's gonna get the pieces in here on the dark squares, and then it's just over. My opponent goes e3. Okay, very reasonable. Probably should have gone this move first. Now he blockades every pawn, and after like queen e8, actually queen e8, my rook would be trapped, so probably queen d7. I come up here, maybe I try to play that. Like, my position is worse, but it's okay. So a6, e3. Obviously just trying to solidify, I think. I don't honestly know what the point of this move was. And I go knight e4 because I'm like, okay, you know what? Let's put the knight in the center. If he trades our bishop, like, okay, we lose the bishop over here. Our king is weak, but at least we got rid of his dark squared bishop that was causing us so much trouble. Like, here, probably king g8 to not pin ourselves. At least we got rid of his dark squared bishop. Our pawns are still like blockaded, but it's not like the end of the world. If he goes knight c5, we can even trade here, and it's bad. It's bad. I'm not saying it's not bad, but it's not over. It's not over. That's the most important part. Instead, my opponent goes bishop b6. Very reasonable move. I go queen d7. A mistake. Should have gone queen e7, which makes sense, I guess, kind of, because now my queen is getting in on the dark squares. I'm controlling them a little bit. He can't come back here because at knight c5, and I'm actually doing pretty well here. Bishop b2 actually wins in exchange, which is nice. Here, win in exchange. But instead, I go queen d7. Idea being, okay, I want to go bishop h6. I'm h3, and trade off his light square bishop, which could be a problem in the future. I can't go there right away because he takes this with the pin on the queen, right? So I gotta bide my time and do it properly. Actually, wait, can I? Oh wait, no, I totally can. Like here, I would go takes. He can't take with the queen because then he loses the pin. So he has to take with the king. No, I can't because here he comes back with the bishop. Okay, no, so that'd be wrong. Just to show you, like if he played this, I can't play bishop h3 because bishop e4, and the line I was showing this here, and he goes bishop g2, and like I lose. Instead, after this, I would just have to recapture the bishop, which is fine. Either way, queen d7. My opponent goes queen e2. Reasonable, attacking this pawn. And a separate idea of queen e7 was to go queen b7. Okay, now I'm defending the pawn, defending every pawn, and we've got some plate. You can't go this move. I was expecting this move, in all honesty. Bishop e4 looked very interesting because I really can't take back with the bishop because of this, because of a move like bishop d4 first and then playing this move knight c5 and try to get it in. Like here, I don't know, whatever, this move. Now he comes in with knight c5, he attacks my queen and the pawn, and I thought this was his idea, right? Trying to get rid of my knight in the center first and to go for that. I thought that was a very nice idea. He doesn't play it though, he goes f3 instead. Kicking out my knight, but now I'm better. Now I'm actually winning the game, which is very cool. I finally graduated from basically losing college, and now I'm on to winning the game university, which is very, very nice. And what I could do here, what I should have done, and what gives me a -1 advantage, which is basically winning, knight c3. Very nice move, very nice move. It's a sacrifice, right? So it's not the easiest thing to see, but after takes, I would take on b6, and now what happens is I have the bishop pair. His bishop kind of sucks, too. His bishop sucks. His knight might probably have to go knight a4. Then I control the dark squares here. My rooks are coming to the center. His king is in the way. King h1 makes a lot of sense. Rook f8 here. Now I can probably go take, and bishop. Oh yeah, just bishop d4 because the pawn is pinned. Maybe not take then. Maybe I'll just go bishop d4 and the pawn is pinned. And I'm like winning. I'm basically winning here, which is very, very nice. But I missed that. I missed that move. It's not the hardest move to see, and I still go knight d6, which I thought made sense. I'm like, okay, the knight's still sticking around. It's still kicking. Like if he goes bishop c5, which is actually what he plays in the game. I actually forgot that. I was just trying to make a move. But like if he plays bishop c5, I'm gonna bring my rook from f file over, and it's fine. Like I'm okay. I go rook f8. The position's okay. I'm not that much worse. After takes, I've been doing fine. Like here, he again loses dark side bishop, which is the pride and greatness of his position. After move knight c5, queen b5 at the very least. Queen trade would probably, actually I would take like this, opening up my rook. A queen trade would be bad for him to open up that, and my bishop pair comes alive, right? The more the position opens up, the better my bishop pair becomes, which is a good thing. Instead, after rook f8, he knows how to play the game, and he plays this move e4. Very interesting move. Very interesting move. And I could have done normal stuff here. I could have just taken. He would take. I'd play bishop e6. He would go like this move, for example. I go knight f5. And the position looks bad. The position looks pretty bad. He even has... Does he have this move here? I thought I was scared of this move during the game. because of knight c5. But here I have bishop d4 check. I missed that. I was like, knight c5, I'm losing my bishop, I'm opening up the king. I thought that was bad. Instead, I didn't do that. Instead, I got a little too big for my britches, which is a funny saying. And I played a bad move. I played a pretty awful move. I was like, you know what? I'm worse in this game. Let's try and make it interesting. I'm bored at this point. I'm tired. I'm done with chess. I'm like, you know what? We make it interesting. We play queen e7. I'm like, oh, you can't take my bishop because I'm gonna take your queen. I'm gonna win the game. Yeah, we're gonna win the game. I'm so good at chess. That's basically what I'm saying. It's just such a lazy move. It's such a lazy move, and I shouldn't have been surprised that I immediately like fumbled it. My opponent goes rook fe1, and I'm like, oh no, now he's starting to take my bishop, and he's starting to go d6 and win my knight. Oh no. After I think for a little bit, I'm like, okay, I probably should take, and after takes, I gotta go here. But now you can see what's happening. You can see what happened. He's gonna come here, attacking my knight, because after bishop takes, queen takes, I would be down an exchange. I would have the bishop pair, but I'd be down an exchange. I realized that, but I'm like, there's nothing else I can do. We gotta keep the game complicated. I go de, takes, and I play rook e8 because it's the only move I have. Now my opponent goes e5, which I thought was very, very natural. But now, at the end of the day, I'm doing well, and I play bishop e5. Now I'm defending the knight. And you know what? I got a pawn out of it. That's not that bad. And I might be able to survive here. I might be able to survive if I, like, take some magic out of my sack and I try to do some good stuff. So, my opponent sacks his queen, of course. Takes, and takes on d6. I really don't know why this move got a brilliancy. It's pretty obvious, you know, like, okay, I don't get it. Instead, my opponent takes on d6, and what ends up occurring is this position where actually black is up in exchange. I mean, no, black is not up in exchange. Sorry, white has 2 pieces for the rook, but what black has in turn has a pawn. Black has a pawn. Black has 2 pawns, actually. These two pawns. Wait, what? No. White has 2 pieces for the rook, and black for rook and a pawn. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I can't count for some reason. Instead, here, right, I'm doing badly. I got to keep it going. It's +2 because I'm gonna lose this pawn in some lines. I got to try to do something. I go rook e2. Right, if he takes this pawn now, well, first of all, I would take on g2 and win the game. That's one line. But like even if I had to take on c6, I'd still be winning. I cannot click here. Even if I didn't have rook e6, I could take here, and the position is like okay, right? The position's okay. There's so many nice tactics after this move, but you know, it's a good move. It has a lot of stuff. But the maybe basis of it is that it's like a positional idea. My opponent goes a3. Very natural. Trying to get his pawn moving. Doesn't want his pawn to be under attack anymore. And I go with this move, bishop e6. Now I'm attacking the pawn again. You still can't play it like this move, for example, because of rook g2, and I win the game. If you take with the bishop, this is just a lesson for beginners. Take with the bishop, you're kind of walking yourself into a pin. This is never a good idea. And a move like bishop d5 would pretty easily win the game. A move like bishop d7 wouldn't actually work after the move knight c3, which is interesting. Like I can't do anything. I have to part ways with some of my position. Like takes. Okay, it's equal now, right? But bishop d5 would work because knight c3. Now I have this move rook g2, which cuts off the bishop from the other one, and that's what happens. Oh my god, I cannot speak anymore. What is going on? Instead, of course, my opponent doesn't take, and he goes knight c5, which was what I thought he was going to do. He's going to grab my bishop. Bishops are the long range piece, and he's going to try to win my a pawn. And I decide, okay, you know what I can do? I could play this move. I looked at this move. Bishop d5, but I was like, what am I doing here? This looks wrong. What about bishop f1? He wins the pawn. What is this? What is this? What am I doing if I lose the pawn? Okay, line goes on for a little bit longer. Computer says knight a6, but I thought a4 was very natural. And a5, I mean, this pawn is now forever a weakness. Now the bishop can come in some lines, not right now, but in some lines. And like what is this? Rook e1, he gets the file now. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. Why am I leaving the file? Why am I leaving all of that? So I played a5 instead, which is the worst move. This move was much worse than the move that I should have played. In fact, it's almost lost after a move like bishop f1. Bishop f1 gets it, and now I'm lost. But instead, my opponent plays b4 and gives me a second chance at life, which is very, very nice. And ab is forced. AB is basically forced. If I don't take, I don't have any other way to defend the pawn. If I go like here, I don't know what I'm doing after knight e6 here, and like, for example, b5, and now he basically promotes. Yeah, this is dumb. I can't take because of the pin. So b4 takes, my opponent takes back, and I go bishop d5. Okay, I'm trying to make some progress. If I don't play this move, I don't think my bishop has a good square. I can go to f5, for example, try to dominate the knight. But the difference here is that it doesn't really ever work. For example, bishop f3, like I kind of have to leave the open file. I really want to stay here, but here it allows the king to get in, and I can't do that. If I go here, probably I move like, ooh, this is a little tough, a little tricky. Maybe. I'm trying to figure it out on my own without the engine, but okay, no, I'm just gonna look at the engine. Okay, engine's a g4. Very natural move, very nice move, actually. Yeah, it's a nice move. And then here it would be pretty easily losing here. Yeah, I mean, like, now that everything is defended. That'd be a nice way to lose. Instead, I don't go bishop f5. I go bishop g5. My opponent takes, and I take. And now I'm like, okay, you know what? I made some progress. I'm not completely lost anymore. What happens now is that each of us has a passer. Of course, my passer sucks. If he starts to push his passer, now I have moves like rook e6 ideas, right? The rook is still pinned. I'm attacking the bishop, and I'm going to get over to this square. Like, it's really not over. There's a lot of play here. Bishop f4 and rook b6, and it's probably just a draw, but actually black is pushing here, which is very, very nice. Instead of doing that, my opponent goes rook b1. Very natural move, trying to take away this square from my rook and come in here. What I could have done, probably, I could have maybe... No, my idea was stupid. No, I think I played the best move. I think I played the best move in the game. I was thinking maybe I could push, but I think that's probably, yeah, that's losing. Yeah, rook c6 is what I played, which I think is, practically speaking, the best move. Hitting the bishop and coming over to defend the pawn. If at b5, I can take on d6, and after b6, I am always in time with rook e8. One little thing, not rook d8, because after b7 here, my opponent can go knight d7, and after like a move like this, my opponent has this check. No, I'm wrong. My opponent can just relax, actually. King f2, and if I come here now, and actually I am losing the race. Very interesting stuff. We just show you why this is losing. You think that you defend it? No, you don't. Instead of that, my opponent comes back to f4. Very natural. I go rook e7, and I thought this was another very, very good move. Idea simply being, okay, now the knight doesn't have any squares, right? The knight doesn't have any squares down here, no forward pushing moves, and I think, okay, that's a very good way to play. This pawn is always kind of never pushable. It's never really pushable because the rook always defends the back rank, and I don't think it's ever going to cause enough counterplay because he's just faster than me. He's always faster than me, so I can't do any of that. Instead, my opponent goes rook d1. Trying to do that, I go rook b6. If we trade pawns here, it's probably just a draw, which is exactly what I want. I'm worse. I want a draw. My opponent instead doesn't take and goes rook d4. Very good move. Now he defends and blockades this pawn. Very good idea by him. And I'm like, okay, you know what? It's time. It's an endgame. I gotta bring my king. I go f6. I thought this was a very, very nice move. Very nice move. Maybe I could have done it like a step later, but I think that this is the best way to play. Now my king is coming up. These squares of the bishop are all defended. These squares of the knight are all defended. And now he doesn't have any forward moving progress. If he ever takes here, now I might even be better. Now I might even be better because my king is getting up and there's no bishop d4. My opponent goes h4. I go king f7. My opponent goes bishop b2. Defending the pawn, threatening to take. I defend. Rook d6. Can't go here because of fork. Never too late to blunder the game. Rook d6. My opponent comes back, and I'm like, okay, rook b6. If he gives me a repetition of moves, I will gladly accept that. That would be very, very nice. Instead of that, he goes king f2. And I automatically know, okay, I'm probably losing. I'm down like a bunch of time, down 2 minutes on the clock at this point, which is terrible stuff. I'm like, I gotta make some counterplay. I gotta do something here. Rook a7, played in 10 seconds, not a very good time spend. And I gotta get back. I gotta try and like attack him. Maybe I want to go here and here. Never let him know your next move. Here. Maybe I try get something going. Just get something going. Anything. My opponent goes bishop d2, and I go rook d6. I gotta come back. And defend. What I could have done here, I could have probably done like anything. I could have played this move rook a2, which is what I kind of overlooked. Pinning the bishop to the king. If the king moves up, then I have like rook a3 check. I come over here, and I'm doing quite well. Instead, rook d6. My opponent goes king e2. And I go rook a3. I'm hitting the pawn, and I'm trying to get in. This has been kind of the theme of the game. I gotta make counterplay. If I don't make counterplay, I lose on the spot. My opponent goes knight d3. Very nice move. Nice backwards knight retreating move. I can't really do anything about that, so I give this check, and I'm really just kind of playing on fumes at this point, which is a weird thing to say, but it's true. I don't really have a plan now. King d1. I go check because I need to get back. I could have played rook e4, which is very nice. And after this move, rook d5, I actually have a decent way of playing. After this move, rook to g4, and you can't really play this because of g5. I'm reading off the engine line. FG. Taking is obviously wrong. You lose a knight. Can't take with the bishop because I can take and then take the knight, and it's a draw. But like bishop c1, rook anywhere here, I guess. No, that allows king c2. Rook a1 is the move. Oh, that's a complicated line still. It's a very complicated line. King c2, rook g3, rook takes. No, that doesn't work. Bishop takes. Yeah, bishop takes, and I am losing. Okay, that's an interesting line. That's a very interesting line. Didn't see that. It's one of those like weird stockfish things. Instead of rook a1, clearly trying to come back. My opponent plays this move king c2, very nice move. And I try to come back, but I go there once, and after g4, I'm like, I'm not doing anything good here. I go rook h1. I keep trying to make some progress, but after knight f4, good move. I go with the check, and I take the pawn. Actually, knight f4 is a terrible move. What am I even talking about? Knight f4 sucks as a move because it just allows me this. And after knight d5, the position has equalized. It's equal now. I still have the two rooks and everything, and this position is very, very good. If I play the move h5, I have equalized. I have equalized the game, and I am going to draw. I'm probably going to draw. There's not really any chance of black winning this game. Well, actually, there's kind of a chance. Like after gh, rook h, maybe I get these pawns going, but at the end of the day, it's over. It's over. We're not doing anything here. We're not going to pretend like we're doing anything here. Instead, I go rook d6, and I miss it. I miss it because I play this move in 1 second, and I have 40 seconds on the clock. Like, it's not the easiest thing to spot with 40 seconds, and we're playing like instantly moves. I play rook d6 because I'm like, okay, maybe I have some play. Maybe I play h5 next and try to get down there, right? That's an interesting line. b5, and it's a draw. It's a draw of easily It's easily a draw now. It's easily a draw. And I miss it. I miss it again. Rook g4. Easy tactic. Easy tactic. This is not winning for white. This is clearly not winning for white. If anything, it's winning for black, because black has 3 pawns. Bishop and rook versus rook is a draw. It's a little bit hard, but with black having pawns on the board, it's even more of a draw, and black is actually the only one with chances now. If that happened, I would have won I would have drawn the game, and it would be over. It would be over, but instead, me with my 40 seconds on the clock plays another move, rook h3, and I'm like, okay, I gotta get back there because he's gonna push his pawn. I gotta try something. My opponent goes bishop b3. Now I come down to rook h1, and I'm gonna try and come over here. This is the idea. My opponent goes b6, and now rook b1, and it is again a draw. It is again a draw. Because what happens here is that after he like brings the king forward, like king c4, now I can just simply take on b6 and the same tactic, and it's a draw. This is a pretty easy draw. I'm not even up the 3 pawns. I'm only up 2 pawns, but this pawn is going to be traded off. And again, rook and bishop versus rook is a draw. Nice to have that theoretical endgame knowledge. It looks like it might not be after check, but I'm able to go king e6 and get this off the board. My opponent goes king e4. I go rook b5. This is still a draw, but I miss it. Annoying. Rook b5. This is actually the best move. Hitting the knight, and I had an interesting threat. My interesting threat was this move c5. I'm like, okay, after takes, I get this, and I'm gonna stop the pawn. I'm actually winning there. That's my interesting threat. I probably wasn't winning, but I might be. My opponent goes rook d3, and I'm like, f5, right? gf, and after takes, I win the knight, right? Yeah, I win the knight. Cool. I'm gonna win the game. Yay! Yay! I'm so good at chess. That's what I was saying to myself. I was like, oh man, game over. I win. It's over. Good game. But I forgot to factor in the fact that I'm an idiot. And what happened next just kind of proves that. I missed the move king e5, first of all. And it's a draw after a move like rook e6, for example. Or, again, if I were to find it, actually rook e6, like, he can take here, but now, actually, this is a draw. This is a draw position. That's tricky. Oh, I guess the knight is pinned. I can go like rook here. Yeah, like rook e7. I can come up here. Very interesting stuff. But instead, I'm like, oh, I see another tactic. Oh, wow. The knight is defending the pawn. It's pinned to the rook. Oh, no. Oh, no. And it's over. It's over. Bishop takes. Move I missed. Simple one mover. Simple one mover. And I'm like, as soon as I play the move, I'm like, oh no! Oh! The bishop can take! It's over! What am I doing? And then I start like beating myself up. Like over and over again, like physically beating myself up. It's terrible. It's a problem. But bishop b6, rook d7. I gotta defend my rook, right? I don't have anything else to do. Rook f3. I defend. I give a check, and I literally hang my rook. I hang both rooks. I hang both rooks in one game. Rook e7. Another rook hang. I'm like, okay. What do I do? I got 11 seconds versus a minute 30. I'm down everything. It's over. It's over. There's nothing to play for. Anyway, this game was pretty bad. I played this game at 69.5% accuracy. Terrible stuff. 2,000 estimated. Ugh. Oh my god. I can't be associated with a 2,000. Okay. We're gonna stop that. 2,000 is actually a very, very high level, but you know, the rating like analysis or whatever is always messed up on chess.com. But Either way, that's all I've got for you today. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys found this instructive, entertaining, all the above. Um, yeah, that's it. If you have any suggestions for stuff that you'd like to see, please put them in the comments. And yeah, good evening and good night.